Chairman Harrimer?
Here.
Mr. Lambruni?
Here.
I am here. Mr. Brooklyn?
Here.
Mr. Dean is not. Mr. Drake?
Here.
Mr. Edwards? Here. Ms. Gianfrido? Not. Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Ercolini?
Here.
Ms. Laurie?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
And Mr. Dean
Here.
has arrived.
Okay, so that's 11, and I'm just, so we're missing one regular member. Before we get to the first item, I wanted to announce that item 2.1, public hearing 2220-25, Ready Imaging, seeking a special permit under the sign regulations for a master sign plan and sign exception at 1780 Berlin Turnpike. If you're here for that matter, that's being continued to our meeting on November 5th, November 5th of, coming up, and that'll start at 7 o'clock. So that application, November 5th, if you were looking for it for tonight, we're not going to be hearing it or doing anything on that application tonight. I believe the applicant requested the continuance. They did. Okay. So next, what we're going to do is resume public hearing 2218-25, Town of Weathersfield Parks and Recreation Department seeking a municipal recreation facility special permit for the construction and associated improvements, fencing, drainage, grading of pickleball courts at Millwoods Park, 154 Prospect Street. And this is a continuation of a hearing that was opened on September 3rd. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. We had a small number of members that night. I think there were just 5, a quorum. So we are going to need, I think, the only Tracy Gianfrido was here that night, but she's not here tonight. So I would ask, as we seat people, let me go back a step. Rich was here. Chris, were you here at that one?
No,
Okay. Let me just.
but I have reviewed.
Right. So basically, we've got Rich was here, Dave Drake was here, Dave Edwards, were you here for that? Dave, were you here for the first hearing on the Millwoods?
No.
No. Joe, you were, right?
Yes.
Anna and Paul, were either of you?
No.
Okay, 1, 2. And Tom, you were here.
Yes.
Okay, so basically we have 4 people tonight who were here for that, and we need to seat 5 people. So I'm going to, of the regular members, again, have you familiarized yourself with the record? I have watched the videotape and read all the materials that have been distributed on this matter, so I feel comfortable to participate. And why don't I start with the regular members? Tony, have you had an opportunity?
I
to
have. I've
familiarize-
read through all of the documentation and
You're-
ready to
Okay.
participate.
Peter?
Yes, I've read all the documentation. I also watched the video, so I am prepared this evening to take this on.
Okay, so now we're up to 7. And so we need 2 more people. We've got we've got Dave, who's a regular member, and Chris. So have you, either or both of you, familiarized yourself?
Yes.
Chris, yes. And Dave, have you had a chance?
I read the
Okay.
documentation.
So that gets us up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I think if Joe remains seated because you were at the first hearing, I believe that's 9. So with that said, staff, would you like to review with us the materials that have been distributed and any new information that you may have? And then we'll also give the applicant a chance if they'd like to say anything additional.
Good, I gladly will. I'm tempted to just read the memo that I put together in the packet, because I
Okay.
think I did. There was quite a bit of material submitted, and we gathered quite a bit of material, so I'd like to start with that.
Sure.
And then sort of go from there. So that's what I'll do. I might need to pause and take a drink, but we'll get through it. This item is a continuation of the public hearing that commenced on September 3rd of 2025. The application is for a special permit to construct, operate, and maintain new playing courts at an existing municipal recreation facility, Millwoods Park. In addition to the comments received during the prior public hearing, materials submitted to the planning office are included in this packet. The original meeting packet, including application materials, continues to be available online with a link to the clerk's office and available for inspection in person at the clerk's office and the planning office located within Town Hall. In addition to the materials and comments received, at the request of the commission, staff reviewed additional literature for best practices on siting pickleball courts. Additionally, staff was able to obtain a survey prepared by the Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association specifically related to pickleball courts and associated noise. The following documentation and materials have been received and/or referenced by members of the public or staff and are included for reference. Public comments submitted to the planning office, numerous news articles or media releases, including the study in full presenting the findings of a study entitled Pickleball Noise, a qualitative description of the psychological and physiological effects on nearby residents, prepared by Fink and Ramito in 2025. An updated location map, including detailed distances to residential lot boundaries and residential dwellings, dated October 3rd of 2025. A noise study and report prepared by BAP Acoustics Limited for the stated purpose to inform municipal noise mitigation strategies and pickleball site guidance for outdoor pickleball courts, and a survey prepared by the Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association collecting feedback on outside pickleball and noise or other complaints associated with pickleball courts that was prepared in 2024. Staff review and comments include number one, research on pickleball courts location siting, including noise, is growing and reflects the rapid growth in the sport's popularity among all age groups. In 2024 alone, more than 4,000 new courts were built, according to Fink and Ramito, and that's in the reference to the study that was done in 2025, and more than 1,500 related project analyses have been completed by Thornton Acoustics, and that's a reference to one of the articles that was submitted that was included in the Sunport Charlotte newspaper in 2020. Online or print media, including blogs and Facebook groups and other articles, are plentiful related to pickleball courts and noise. A basic internet search yields a large volume of recent and past discussions, usually site-specific. Best practice documentation and guidance in the articles and other sources of information submitted consistently indicate and conclude the same primary factors in evaluating, assessing, and mitigating noise, if any, related to pickleball court siting, including the following. Distance. Among all sources reviewed, distance is the most important factor in reducing noise impacts when siting pickleball courts. Next, noise and or sound barriers. And lastly, regulatory. Hours of operation. Limiting the hours of operation for outdoor pickleball courts is recommended, and equipment. Requiring the use of quieter equipment can further reduce the noise created by gameplay. However, because equipment can be difficult to regulate, at least one source recommends implementing a quieter equipment requirement in addition to one of the other strategies. We're almost finished. Fortunately, the literature and materials submitted by members of the public and best practices are consistent in their conclusions that distance is the single largest determining factor when siting pickleball courts to reduce potential noise impacts. The most referred to study and related news articles submitted into the record refer to a single source study. That's one mentioned before, that's titled Pickleball Noise, a qualitative description of the psychological and physiological effects on nearby residents. That was done by Fink and Ramito in 2025, which recommends that pickleball courts not be located within 100 feet of residential properties. Best practice guidance, which is more technical and detailed in its findings, supports that a pickleball court located within that distance and without noise mitigation would result in noise exceeding levels generally considered acceptable for residential areas. As stated above, the information reviewed consistently indicates noise mitigation can be successful when courts are properly located and include, where necessary based on distance, other factors and elements such as adjacent ground surface, engineered noise mitigation barriers, and regulatory measures. For example, a four-court surface, 2x2, with no noise mitigation and adjacent hard ground is expected to result in 90 decibels at a distance of 50 meters or 165 feet. However, the same court adjacent to soft ground with the inclusion of a 3-meter, which would be 9 feet, 8 inches, noise barrier is expected to result in half the decibels, 45 decibels at a distance of 50 meters or 165 feet. and when including a regulatory requirement of quieter equipment, that same court at 50 meters, same distance as the other two examples, is expected to result in 20 decibels at a distance of 50 meters, according to BAP Acoustics in 2023. As shown on the location map included, dated October 3rd, 2025, the nearest residential property line is approximately 355 feet, and the nearest residential dwelling unit is approximately 530 feet. These distances far exceed the minimum recommended distances suggested by best practices and exceed greater than 5 times the 100-foot minimum distance by other literature submitted during the public hearing. Additionally, while the proposed distance alone exceeds the best practice minimums, noise barriers, while not originally proposed, can be integrated into the current design, and limitations to the hours of operation will be incorporated into the proposal. Combined with the preliminary sighting factors of distance, which alone is consistent with best practices, incorporating these secondary elements would further reduce noise associated with the proposed recreation amenity. And I should add, because I didn't at the beginning, that the reason we focused on noise, there were 2 remaining issues that I was asked to pursue further after the public hearing, one being noise and the other being public safety. There were concerns about traffic in the existing traffic and pedestrian access. So we did refer this to the public safety offices of the fire marshal and the police, and we did get comments back from both that they had no concerns about traffic or emergency public safety concerns by the proposal.
Dave, you also did a survey, right?
Oh, yes, included in that.
I think you need to mention that as well.
Well, yeah, so we did not do the survey, but the town is a member of the Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association, and they regularly will do surveys on, current events, new topics in recreation, and they do surveys, and they did a survey, I think in 2024, specifically for pickleball courts and citing them. And so that is included, and you can look through it. It's interesting to look through it. I don't want to bias anyone's review, but from what I reviewed, I think it speaks for itself if you've had a chance to review it. And I do have documents available to present if that would help any of the commissioners, or if we refer to them during the course of the public hearing.
And there were also in the packets that we received numerous articles that I believe were submitted by members of the public at the initial hearing, correct? Which were part of what I looked at before tonight, and I know others did as well.
Correct, yes. They are,
Okay.
Everything that was submitted to the planning office or referred to, that was them submitted, is included in the packet.
And I would just add, there's several comments that have been submitted for tonight's meeting. Dave and Dale Kraus at 396 Griswold Road generally support pickleball courts, provided they are far enough from private homes not to be a general nuisance, and they expressed concerns about no lights or additional parking. Adrienne Quinn of 63 Randy Lane basically says the courts would be much closer to the pool area and to Griswold Road than she thought they were originally. Surprised to learn no noise study had been done. Pickleball is a fun sport, but very loud. The high-pitch, repetitive pop from sunrise to sunset on 4 courts equals thousands of pops every day. Hard asphalt surface allows the sound to travel further. Also concerned about the increased traffic. For pickleball, I don't think courts are appropriate for Mill Woods, since the park is such a peaceful oasis in a highly residential area. There must be a better location in town, and requests a noise study. Pat Horton of 139 Randy Lane also had some concerns regarding noise pollution. And let me just see if... So again, mostly noise, I think, that she is expressing in her comments. Not opposed to pickleball as a sport, but would like the noise factors to be acknowledged. Nancy Correa, 95 Griswold Road. Question, what percentage of residents want pickleball courts? What noise studies were done? What environmental studies were done? How will the courts affect traffic patterns, believes more studies are needed. And then I thought I saw something in support in the packet as
We're
well.
here.
We got some additional comments.
Yes, from Christina Plant of 722 Prospect Street in support, Kyle Sittler, 86 Harrells Hill Road in support. And she does say the biggest concern is always the noise. Looks like they'll be far enough away from nearby homes to minimize nuisance. Tom Carson of 12 Avalon Place wrote also in support. I think that's pretty much it. So anything more that you or our Parks and Rec representative wanted to say at this point?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Commission members, I guess if you have any questions that you don't want to wait, we can do that now, or we could just go to the public. It seems to me that there are people here who were not at the first hearing, and I'm sure some of them would like an opportunity to speak. So, again, if you have pressing questions now, that's fine. Dave?
Going back to your comments here, again, how come we're not doing a sound study? I mean, to me, that's the money, we're gonna spend all this money and no sound study. I understand 90 dB at 150 meters, but just to give you a sense what 90 dB is, OSHA doesn't allow anything over 80 anywhere in a factory in the United States. 90 is loud. It's nice to say 90, some guy allows it, but I mean, how are we not going to spend this money and do a study? It's not that big.
No, just to be clear.
And let me get one other thing. Why are we doing a sound mitigation thing? Is all the money we're going to spend, we're not going to put a
Yeah.
lousy 60-foot fence up with mitigation?
Yeah,
I know
so
we have a
that,
fence, but mitigation, I don't.
yeah,
that
a noise
add-
barrier. So that was one of the things. So just to be clear, 90 decibels would far exceed anything that would be acceptable. Absolutely. So the intent to stay within the range would be half of that. 90 dBAs would be at
We
100.
don't know that, though. At 500, shouldn't we get a number that says exactly where we're at 500 feet? That's not a hard number to calculate. That's, anybody does this for a living. It's an easy number. I just don't know why we're not doing that before we spend all this money. That's all. Just, again, we vote yes, we still don't know what we have. And just to go back, after the last meeting, I went back and I got on the internet and you go pickleball noise, you look it up. And probably 80% of the articles were articles from municipalities that had to close the courts afterwards, after they built them. And I'm not against the pickleball courts, but I just think we just do a little effort up front to make sure we know at 500 feet, we're at 25 or 30 dB. I mean, that's not a hard number to know. That's real easy number to know. But anyways, that's my comments.
Any other commission members at this stage?
I
Chris?
guess one thing I was looking at from the original meeting, and I don't, again, so just out of curiosity, so the only thing we actually have in our zoning regulations regarding municipal recreation facilities is just that it requires a conditional use special permit in any of those zones, especially residential zones, but we don't have any other details. So this property is already approved for municipal recreation. So we're already here now, but I would think for all of us, I don't understand why, if the council has already approved funding for this, the town has a grant for this, why are we revisiting something that doesn't even have a clear set of guidelines for why we're doing it? So it doesn't matter because we're here in the public hearing, but the only thing in our zoning that says if you're in that residential zone, that municipal recreation facilities, but it doesn't say if it's a new facility or if it's adding on to a facility or changing it, that whole property is already municipal recreation.
I don't know whether that whole property historically, some of it I think predates the requirement for a special permit, but even if it had one, Chris, I think this is being viewed as a significant enough change and introduction of a new use within the park that in and of itself, it would require a new special permit. And our special permit regs in turn require us to consider all potential impacts on the adjoining area, whether it's noise, light, traffic, et cetera, property values, anything that could be adversely affected. So that's kind of the context of what we have
Okay,
in
thanks.
front of us
That was
tonight.
the piece I didn't understand. So thank
Okay.
you.
Anybody
Can I
else?
just respond to Dave's, because he did raise an interesting, so in between the last meeting and this one, I did speak with the town manager, and noise, and I put that in the memo, but noise mitigation, if required, will be included, noise barriers. And he also did say, we could, if needed, to right-size those noise mitigations, that a noise study could be done. I think the intent was, at least, and again, this is my interpretation of the discussion, is why continue to spend money if the town is going to make sure that it complies with its municipal noise ordinance. And so if that means noise mitigation, noise barriers, and a noise study to determine that.
What is the dB level on the noise ordinance in town?
It's,
I pulled it up last time, I don't,
I can't.
it depends on the time of day. I want to say it's 40, well,
yeah, the noise ordinance is, I believe, in the daytime 55 and at nighttime 45. But I also want to mention, I took a look at the noise ordinance. Give me 1 second here. There is a clause at the end of the noise ordinance. Double-sided copies. Here we are. Basically says more stringent provisions to apply. All provisions of the zoning regulations of the town of Weathersfield, which are more stringent than those set forth in the noise ordinance, shall remain in force. So I guess my point is, just because you meet the decibel level, we still have to conduct our own review of whether we think there's impacts, and there could theoretically be impacts if they're under the maximum permitted decibel level. There could still be whatever kind of impacts, noise or otherwise. So I think it's helpful to know exactly where they would be under the noise ordinance, but from the literature and stuff that I've read in the packet, it sounds like even if they met the 45 and the 55, that doesn't necessarily mean people aren't going to hear anything, or what are they going to hear? So, yes.
Chairman, I just want to address what Dave brought up. Dave, I mean, in reviewing all this stuff, I mean, you're an engineer and I'm an engineer. It's clear that there's a lot of variation, and it's all site-specific. So unless you do something at the site, the ground condition, the berm that's there, other trees that are around, you'll never really know what it is. So I agree with you. If we're ever going to get our hands around the volume, the peak volume, we need to do a study. And it'll cost the town whatever, but we need to do a study. The only other thing I want to mention is that there's a second part to everything I read that is concerning to me beyond the peak volume. I'm pretty sure that you can do something to reduce at 500 feet or so, reduce the volume such that it's below 50. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen, especially if you put a 10-foot wall, not far from where
Well,
this
the thing
is.
is, the wall's already there.
Yeah,
So we
and you
need
got the
to fix
berm. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. And we can spend the money, but that'll be the conclusion, in my opinion anyways. But the issue is nuisance. That's the second part that I just can't get my head around very clearly. Because even though, let's say you get this down to 45, which, doesn't sound too loud. My voice is probably at 45 right now. Hearing the bing, 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 bing continuously for extended periods of time is going to be irritating. It's going to be nuisance. So I think in my opinion, what we have to determine here is, regardless of what we do with this property to reduce the volume, is the nuisance to this neighborhood too much? I think that's where I'm struggling with. So, I don't know. I mean, if we want to do a study and spend the money, I'm for it. But I'm not sure we're going to learn much about the nuisance factor. That's the hard part.
if I could, I want to just interject to make sure this doesn't turn into something else. I know people care about this strongly. We are going to let the public speak. There is a process. Once the commission finishes speaking, we're going to let the public come up and address the commission. Please address the commission, and then the commission will respond. I think If we would prefer people come up and speak, and then we will try to respond to the public concerns as they come up. But if you could just, please be patient, we will get to the public, and we do want to hear what you have to say. But if you could keep going, Chris, I think you were up.
Tom had his hand up first.
Just a couple points of clarification. With regards to the noise attenuation efforts that are planned, is that going to be on all three sides of the pickleball courts?
Well, it would be to bring the noise to a level within our ordinance to, as needed. And so it would depend, right? So again, I'm not an acoustic engineer, but from what I've read, at least 3 sides would require a noise barrier. And then again, the height and the density and the type would all be determined based on an analysis to determine what type of noise barrier would be necessary.
Okay, so, and it would be at least from all the studies that I've read in the materials, the recommendation for that is at a height of 3 meters, which is approximately 10 feet. And that in terms of height for such a sound barrier or attenuation mechanism.
Correct, yep.
Yes, for the conditions that were included in the analysis and the study, yes. But based on the site conditions, that could change up or down. But yes, 3 feet is what was used in their analysis to bring the greatest level of noise decibels down. But it will not always be 3 meters or 9.8. It will be determined based on the need of the topography of the area.
Okay. Secondly, nothing that I've seen in the proposal indicates anything about an issue that kind of cropped up in the materials that I reviewed for this, and that was any site safety procedures for the safety of the participants, the people that are actually playing. The concern being many of the players are likely to be folks that may be retired or getting up there in terms of age, and there was some indication of having some kind of emergency mechanisms there in case someone suffers a stroke, a heart attack, or that kind of thing as they are playing. I haven't seen anything with regards to the safety procedures for players that has been presented in the proposal, and I'd hope there'd be some indication of that in the town's presentation of this.
Thank you. Unless I missed, I don't think we specifically included that, but it's duly noted as a need.
Yeah, it just was contained in, one of the more authentic reports that I saw. There's much in the materials that, there's repetitive and basically news articles and but the science was really only contained in a couple of key articles that were contained in the materials that we received. And there was one paragraph that indicated that the safety of the participants should be also considered as a factor in the design and the infrastructure of the courts. That's it for now for me. Thank you.
Else?
Eliminate the fact, the buffer between the houses and the top of the pickleball court fence is an active Little League field. You put 50-something people on that field, parents cheering on a game. I can guarantee you the decibels are far beyond that pickleball court noise. Was that ever complained about?
Yeah, so I learned a lot about noise, and one of the things that it would be, so the objective of the noise mitigation at this area would be to make sure that whatever noise was generated by a new facility was no greater than the existing ambient background noises. So that would be the goal, right? So, but we need to understand what those are, but to Commissioner Lambruni's point, right, it is a different type of noise. And that is why, from what I've read, just to present what I read, is that That's why the regulatory part is important. So, one of the complaints you'll see, and it was reflected in the survey, is one of the outside courts, they had unrestricted times, and there were complaints because people were playing at 5:30 a.m. So the regulatory component of that, even if the decibels are low, is relevant.
Eliminate
Yeah, hours of operation, which I think was stated in the public hearing as something that could be done.
And I guess another way to look at it is if you've got the noise from soccer, Little League, or whatever other sport, is there some cumulative effect if you've got these courts going at the same time? I know one of the pieces of literature that was in the articles that were in our package, I think somebody was opining that whatever maybe the decibel distance was, you should add 400, 500 feet to that and be 1,000 feet away from residences. It was something along those lines based on the nature of the noise. But but in any event, do we want to go to the public?
Just one more thing, I just sort of thinking about, I appreciated having the study from BAC Acoustics, or BAP Acoustics, talking about recommended distances and what kind of mitigation strategies would be there. So their recommended mitigation strategy for a 2x2 grid, or in order to hit 50 decibels, would be with a soft ground surrounding it, and the 3-meter noise barrier like we're looking at would be 45 meters would be the distance around it. So we have far exceeded that, I believe, in this recommendation, which was in your memo, David. So that is, he didn't number the pages on this. It's page 7 of the BAP acoustic study. The table shows if there's no other additional noise mitigation, and there is a soft ground surrounding the field, that 45 meters is the recommendation. And so we have a much greater recommendation from where this will be cited. So I think that's important, that the recommendation for pickleball courts specifically, we're exceeding that. And just the other point about the survey from the Parks group, that there's 20 respondents to this survey. Of them, only 5 of the 20 had reported that they had any kind of complaints. 3 of those were immediately remediated, apparently, by just changing the times and paying attention to when people are out on those fields. And so I think that, and none of them in those 20 reported any litigation from it. And so I think it's important that we look at there is an increasing demand for this in these facilities, that we do take that into account, but that we're conscious of the mitigation that we put in place to do it. If the town is willing to do the sound study, or maybe we can add that as a stipulation, but it also sounds like we're well within what is recommended for this location.
Anybody else? All right.
I agree with Chris, and we don't want to understate that study. It is 20 towns. It is quite, there's 9 columns on this and has a lot of detail. Dave, do you have any idea when the study was done? And is it something over the last couple of years? Is it an annual update?
I believe it was 2024, but we can add that to one of the lists for clarification.
It's actually all time stamped, all the responses.
Okay.
So,
2024, 2022, I think, is the range.
24, I think, is most of those.
and also, I meant to say all of the complaints that they did have, all 5 of the towns that had complaints, were well below the distance that's recommended for sound. So they were all within that. They were under the 50 meters or even closer in some cases. So,
Anybody else?
But again, look at the study though, nothing says anything about what sound mitigation. The study doesn't tell you anything.
Dave, could you get to the mic?
Sorry. The study doesn't say anything about what sound mitigation anybody put in there. And you had mentioned that we were putting sound mitigation, right now the plan has no sound mitigation.
well, it does. It's got the 10-foot.
That's not, it's just a
Yeah,
fence.
just a fence?
It's not sound
Okay.
mitigation. That's why I say, I think you can work it here, there's no question in my mind, but we need to put a spec in that the fence needs mitigation, and someone should do it's not a very difficult study, that with the mitigation at 500 feet, which is, 150 yards, whatever, something like that,
Yeah.
that we're going to be at 25, 30 dB. I think is probably workable, but we don't have any of that now. But again, I'm not against this. I think it's probably a good spot for it, but, we just got to do it right.
Cross the T's, dot the I's. cross the Ts and dot the
Yeah, I
I.
mean, we, right now, we don't have anything.
I'd just say one more thing. Chris, you raised an interesting point, and I would like to say this because I have been asked similar questions. This is an existing municipal recreation park facility. Why is this going back before the commission? The use has already been approved. And again, this commission is the body to interpret the regulations. So by all means, if there's a different interpretation, whether it's this application or future, I'm all for it. But similar to some of the other special permit uses we've had, where there's a modification to a previously approved special permit, and it's section, Article 10, 1C, a special permit may be amended in like manner as provided above for the granting of a special permit. And so that's how we have been treating any other use that is approved by special permit. And looking at the history of this, my understanding is that this was changed. This location used to be approved and treated through a site plan approval, but many of the uses, and this predates me, there was a change in 2008, and then there was another change in 2016, and many of the uses that previously were approved by site plan in the town are now done by special permit. And so I just wanted to say that, and that is the way I read the regulations, but by all means, this is the board to make those interpretations, but as I read them, I believe that we are doing the proper thing for this property in this application.
I think we are in this case.
Right, I think as evidenced by the fact that we have a large crowd and a lot of interest in this application, I think this definitely warranted a public hearing, special permit process. Why don't we go out to the public, and before we do that, I'll just talk a little bit about the process for speaking. When it's your turn, if you could come up to the microphone at the podium over there and state your name and address for the record. And if you have, please, you can make whatever comments you'd like to relative to the application. If you have questions about how something would work with the application or with the facility if it were put in, we will keep track of all those questions, and then at the end of the public comment period, we'll get answers to those questions, whether it's from town staff or from Parks and Rec. But we'd like the dialogue to be, comments to us, and then we can seek answers to whatever your questions are. So just to try to, I'll just go from front to back, I guess. Would you like to speak?
Good evening, Tom Mazzarella, 600 Walcott Hill Road. I'm not opposed to pickleball. I think this is a difficult location, and I'd like you all to focus on the nuisance aspect of the noise, not necessarily the decibel level that's going to be recorded or the regulation, but it's the nuisance. Many of you sitting here are probably very familiar with the situation on Beaver Road with the dogs, wag time. And there we had a case where it was fairly closely located to a small group of residents, very similar to Griswold Road, but they were under this constant nuisance. It went on for an extended period of time, back and forth. A lot of pressure from the public to resolve the issue. One of the, I thought was most interesting was the sound engineer that spoke about it. He compared the background noise of 45 or whatever decibel level to the barking, this random barking, which is in a way similar to the ball hitting the racket, if you will, the paddle. And the short version is the owner finally agreed that he would take it on to put some noise barriers up. They designed a wood structure, they put it up. The residents still had noise issues. The numbers came down significantly, but they still had a nuisance issue. They went back out, to the best of my recollection, and sealed the joints between these boards of this fence structure, and that resolved the problem. We never got a phone call after that. So I think if you do approve this location, you must include a sound barrier that is going to eliminate the nuisance as well as lower the decibel level. And it really doesn't matter if it's 1,000 feet from a property line or not. I'd also add that I think the noise barrier should be put on 4 sides of the courts, because Mill Woods is it's a place for passive recreation. And some people may like to go to Mill Woods to sit and read a book, which is what a park is also used for. It's not just used for baseball, little league, soccer games, etc. So I think, and you're talking about money, but the town has money in this Urban Act grant to mitigate the sound on all 4 sides, to try and keep, to the best of the town's ability, to keep it as a park, so that people can have passive enjoyment of the space. It's also going to reduce noise onto Prospect Street, Randy Lane, Oxy Oak. These are, far distances, but that noise is going to travel to some degree. I also think you should limit it to daylight hours and put right in the approval that it will not be a lighted court. You can put the start times, the stop times. Whatever you think is going to be required, you should put it in the approval as a condition tonight or whenever you decide, if you decide to approve it. Rather than wait to have the courts built and have all this feedback from the residents, how unhappy they are with it, when it could have been prevented up front. That's my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Continuing on this side, yes, ma'am, you had your hand up if you'd like to go next. And
Mary Ellen Larate, 15 Mapleside Drive. I play pickleball, and I play pickleball in towns all around here because we don't offer it. Now, we all have all these great discussions of doing studies, and what's the closest house, 535 feet? Was that something like that? Which is almost 2 football fields. And we talk about these studies, but I was raised to use common sense. How many people in here have gone maybe to Rocky Hill and sat 2 football fields away from the pickleball courts, which have no noise mitigation, and said, oh, can I hear this? Is this annoying? Because when the band practices, I can hear them at Mapleside Drive when they have a game or anything else. My mother lived at Mitchell House up until a few years ago. And you know what? When we were visiting her, all you heard was the bing of the aluminum bats and all the parks and everything else. It is a park. And we're one of the few towns that don't offer it. And I have to tell you, when I look at or talk to friends of mine who are looking to move to a new community, one of the first things they do is look to see if they have pickleball. I won't move to a community after this that does not have pickleball. So yes, there's some noise mitigations, but everybody's talking about it. But how many of you have all gone out and actually tried to see what the noise we're talking about is? Because all you have to do is go down to Rocky Hill. They have no noise mitigation, and go 2 football fields away on either side and see what it sounds like. As opposed to sit here, spend money, let's delay it some more, let's discuss it some more. Let's use some common sense and go out and listen, I guess is mine. And like I said, someone once said to me a couple of years ago when I was trying to get pickleball, they said, go to another town. I'm like, wow, I'm paying all these thousands of dollars, and the answer is go somewhere else, not in my town? We have to come up with something better. And the middle of Mill Woods can't be any better. And I understand you can't put it in a neighborhood. In Mill Woods, it's in the middle of Mill Woods, 500 feet away. You can't do better than that. But if you really want to discuss this, go out and listen. Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else on this side of the room who'd like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Ferrara, 24 Pickering Lane. I have been writing letters and emails to the town of Weathersfield for 4 years, trying to get pickleball courts in town. I'm totally embarrassed about how long it's taken. It's ridiculous. I mean, we go to other towns. We've been playing in Rocky Hill. Rocky Hill put up pickleball courts 2 years ago. How many here have gone there and looked at those courts? They're absolutely beautiful, and they have 6 courts. And if you're driving in, if you're far away, you parked your car in the parking lot, you can't hear anything. You know, everybody's talking about noise, and you talk about doing another study. All this town does is studies of everything. It's constantly wasting money. You know, I'm a taxpayer in town. My kids have grown up. So really, I'm not getting anything for my money. I just want some pickleball courts, and everybody, it's just delayed, 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 delayed. You know, I can't see doing another study. A study was done that you referenced where at a house 100 feet away was 90 decibels. These are over 500 feet away. So, I mean, why do you have to do another study? It's a park. You know, you've got kids playing baseball, you've got kids playing soccer, you've got older guys playing softball. I'm sure they all make a lot of noise. You know, these people have chosen to buy a house near a park. And when you play pickleball, it's not going on all day long. It's maybe 3 hours or so in the morning, maybe in the afternoon. If you don't have lights, it's not going to be played at night. You know, I mean, it's just do it. You know, like Michael Jordan says, just do it. You know, this is ridiculous how long we've waited for this. It should have been done years ago. You have the money, just do it, please.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side of the room like to speak? Sir?
Good evening. Jim Pettit, 88 Griswold Road. I rise to oppose the pickleball courts. I appreciate everyone's comments from the public, from the board. Number of issues for me. Some people speak of the noise, and that's definitely a factor. There's types of noise. It may be approved for a barking dog pierces, just as the pickleball paddle and ball pierces. And that's exactly what the problem is. So you can study it, you can that sort of thing, whatever. Some of the other concerns are safety, that there should have had sidewalks from Prospect Street all the way up to the skateboard park. There are no sidewalks there. And with the beautiful classic Little League field now, there's going to be more traffic and people walking down. I tried to walk there the other night, and you take your life in your own hands or whatever, try to walk on the side of the road, you have to walk almost in the soccer field to be safe. So they should do something about that. And we talk about noise and adjacencies. Yes, there's some distance between my house, which is straight across from the tennis courts, the baseball field, and the proposed pickleball, that you also have a church right down the street, a place of contemplation. You also have the baseball, which, you know, little kids playing and interfering, the distraction from it. You also have the tennis courts right next, 50 feet away from it, or across the road from it, so it's very close. And I'm not going to try to impress you with my tennis prowess. It's not there. Yes, I played in college, but I won't go over my tennis record. Not very good. But anyway, the part of tennis is hearing the sound of the ball, softball, coming off the racket. And if you introduce pickleball, it's a hard sound, it's a knocking sound, it's a disturbing sound. And just this morning, I went down to Berlin, where they're building a beautiful facility for pickleball. So yes, I am saying go out of town for it. And you could do something in town as well, or the Parks and Recreation. They've said before that, we get calls for it. How many calls? I've never heard how many. Finally, we heard some people come through and say they're in favor. That's great. I appreciate you coming out. But there also is a piece of it that's, you could do something with Goodwin Park. I play golf and go over there. That the town gets a discount because it's adjacent to Weathersfield. Part of it's in Weathersfield, part of it's in Hartford. They could do the same thing and see if the demand is that strong. Give them a discount for playing at the new facility. It'll be indoors, winter, nights, mornings, whenever you want, whenever it's open. If the demand's there, they'll keep it open. That's what the market does. Part of your charge, too, is also quality of life. And I can't imagine a pickleball court with the distraction, the disruptive noise being an enhancement. Maybe playing pickleball is an enhancement, but not the noise. So those are my biggest issues, is just that I think you should decide carefully that there's larger issues than just playing pickleball and offering pickleball services or pickleball courts for the town. It's also the quality of life, and that's part of your charge as well, as you all know. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on that side of the room who'd like to speak? Yes.
Mary Kate Harlow, 631 Wolcott Hill Road. I'm curious where Mr. Drake, that you said 80% of the courts close after being open. I'm wondering where that is, because it can't be Connecticut, because people keep building them and people keep playing.
What did I say, 80% of the what?
You said 80% of the courts that open close?
You're referencing your Google search that came up with news articles and.
Oh, the articles, right, yeah, okay.
I'd like some facts on that one. But quality of life is being active, and being active is playing pickleball. I mean, it got approved, and we all came to approve it, so why the delay? And to spend money to do noise studies? So many different towns have them. I'm sure all the studies are out there. So I don't understand why it can't be approved, especially if they're saying it's far enough so they're not going to hear the ping, 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 and it's only going to be during the day hours. There's so many people that are going to different towns that could stay here and play for our tax dollars. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else on this side of the room? Yes.
Dale Troutman, 70 Griswold Road. First, I'd like to reference the Acoustical Society of America study dated May of 25, copies of which were submitted to David Elder for distribution to the committee. According to this study, research indicates that pickleball noise appears to raise major health concerns, including hearing loss, disrupted sleep, cardiac, and neurologic issues. Instead of the softer ping noise heard in tennis, pickleball makes a repetitive, piercing pop sound. The high pitch of a hard paddle hitting a plastic ball and the erratic rhythm of the smack creates vibrations that can be extremely annoying to humans. On a full day of pickleball, this repetitive impulse noise could amount to more than 90 hours per week, or 100,000 pickleball pops per week. In addition, as far as I know, local noise ordinances pertain to sound level decibels and do not regulate repetitive impulse noise, which is associated with pickleball. The frequency of the popping sound has been compared to the backup alarms of trucks. The study goes on to say that courts should not be placed within 100 to 1,000 feet of homes until more study has been done by sound engineers on how long-term impulse noise affects the health of people living near the courts. Pickleball is a great sport. However, trying to put it in Millwoods Park near the pool beach area, ambulance facility, nature center, Mitchell Senior Housing, and homes along Griswold Road is not taking the citizens' quality of life into consideration. Many citizens of our town use Millwoods every day to walk, run, bike, or push their sleeping infants in a stroller. It's one of the few places where we can go and enjoy some peace and quiet without turning to an app on our phones for meditation. As a taxpayer and resident of this town for 45 years, I feel that the town has not done its due diligence in recommending pickleball courts be placed in Mill Woods, especially in an already congested area. I hope you will reconsider the placement of these courts in Mill Woods and instead use funds available for safety improvements, such as much-needed sidewalks from Prospect Street into the park. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Before you do that, I just want to see if anyone has not spoken who would like to speak over there, and then the gentleman over there.
Linda Tajarian, 223 Garden Street. I am for pickleball courts. I think Millwoods is a great spot in the middle of the park. I also go to Glastonbury or Rocky Hill to play, and also for social activities after, go to restaurants in those towns, which I would rather do in Wethersfield and have social activities after pickleball here. It's also one of the few sports I can play with my grandchildren, and people of any age can mix it up and play together. It's really needed in this town. I don't think we should wait any longer. As one of the other women said, let's just do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, in the back, you had your hand up?
Evening, folks. Peter Gardo, 60 Griswold Road. This is a terrible location for this, and I'm a neighbor, okay? And I moved into a park, and I knew what I was getting at the time, 31 years ago. I didn't expect press boxes and pickleball. Pickleball noise comes from when the clickety-clack of hitting the ball against the paddle. And the pop sound issue is its distinctive high frequency of a plastic pickleball hitting the paddle. It's disruptive to the quality of life. The constant penetrating noise can cause stress, anxiety, difficulty concentrating for residents living near courts. And there's examples of complaints in litigation in many places. And how bad is pickleball noise? And this is stuff I found. You know, I did research. The noise caused by continuous pop-pop of the pickleball hitting the paddle leaves people distraught, disturbed, and disgusted. And for 2.5 years, since this first thing came up to put it in the Millwoods Park, in the northwest corner near the Mitchell School, this is ridiculous. It got moved next to the tennis courts, which was probably 1,000 feet away from my property. And now it moved 355 feet away from my property. I use my whole property. I'm not in my basement. I use my backyard. The lady from 70 Griswold Road, she actually went to the same place I did, the Acoustical Society of America. Acoustics.org, pickleball noise raises the health concerns, and I believe you got that one. You know, am I going to get 100,000 pickleball pops a week? That's crazy. That's not nice. From House Beautiful, is pickleball noise ruining your neighborhood? New York Times, shattered nerves, sleepless nights, pickleball noise. Sound from Saratoga pickleball courts is maddening, and that's from the NBC Bay Area. The park is full. You're jamming more stuff in the nexus of the park. The noise will echo all around the park. You want a peaceful day at the swimming hole? Good luck. And I'm sure that pickleball people would be playing year-round. I heard one of the commissioners or board members here talk about, you know, soft land or something, grass. Well, they're going to be playing year-round. And when the snow is hard packed on the ground and there's no leaves on the tree, it'll even move further from the epicenter of where the clickety-clack is. I hear I-91 from my house in the summertime. It's a dull roar, but it's constant. In the wintertime, with no foliage and snow, and with snow on the ground, it's worse. Noise travels farther in the winter. The proposed location of this is in the wrong place. And I talked to Mike Rell 2.5 years ago. I says, what are you doing? Put it down at the Connecticut River. You got land over there with that new walkway over the Putnam Bridge. No one lives there. No one's going to hear the clickety-clack. Now, the other thing I did is I went to the Plan of Conservation and Development, and this is from 2013 because I think it's being worked on now. And on page 4, key strategies. Weathersfield, an attractive and desirable community for 100 years. You're going to remove that, addressing development issue. Weathersfield remains attractive and desirable community. Well, it doesn't for me. If this thing goes in with 100,000 pickleball pops during the week, residents want support residential neighborhoods. This does not support residential neighborhoods. This is on page 34. Residents want to change or eliminate negative influences on community character. And that's for the neighborhood. And over on page 40, the basic tenet of this philosophy is to strive to protect the residential character of the community and the neighborhood in order to afford people who choose to live here an opportunity to enhance their, quote, pursuit of happiness, unquote, and quality of life. The town should do more to protect the integrity of residential neighborhoods. This is your plan, guys, okay? And you got it from the citizens. So, you know, in the article from the lady before is, no one would choose to live this way. It's physically and emotionally debilitating. Pickleball's fine. My mother-in-law plays it. She's 80 years old. She likes it, all right? She doesn't live in town. But this is going to ruin the quality of life for the neighbors. And it's 355 feet to my property, not 500. So, and I use my property. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else who has not spoken yet who'd like to? Yes, in front, over here.
I'd like to thank you. I don't really like public speaking, but the gentleman's correct. I live on Randy Lane, 139 Randy Lane, and my name is Patricia Houghton.
Could you come a little bit closer to the microphone? Thank you.
I live behind the turf farm, and there's a pump there, and then I know they have rights to use it, and I've adjusted to it. But that pump plays from sometimes 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock, and it can also be used Saturdays and Sundays, and you know it's been dry, and now they're taking up turf. I'm not complaining about them. It's just noise. And now to think that I'm going to have to hear pickleball. And the other day with my phone, I'm not that literate with it. I hear this. And if I constantly from 9 o'clock in the morning, you know, and this is not a good. Like it said, I have a porch in the back, and it's not closed in except with a screen because I didn't want another room. And I can't use it or have people in or have a conversation like this if that is going. I don't know when they're going to use it, what day. And then when you go out and you say, what a gorgeous day today, and we've had a lot of those gorgeous days this last month. I can't use my backyard, and like this, I work in my yard. Sometimes I'm out there 9 to 5. I do my own trees. You could see, and there's plenty of greenery in my backyard where the pump is. I'm not complaining about them. I've learned to adjust to it. But it's my home, too. It's not just that my house is there. And then I say, you know, I think of all the ills and the problems in the world, and I try not to say, well, you know, I have to adjust to it. But I'm alone because my husband's deceased. And I find this, what else is there to adjust to? Because it is my home. And I love being outside. That's my therapy, working in my yard. I'm out there. There's workers next door. They did roofing, and that 2 days, they're gone. This is constant, and pickleball will be constant. And I'm saying, oh my God, now the season's almost over. Now, this winter, like the gentleman said. And we're not against pickleball. It's just where it's going to be placed. And then it sounds like we don't like it. I love athletics. I had 2 brothers. I grew up playing basketball before it became an equal opportunity to do it, because I had 2 brothers and the neighbors, and we all played. And nobody cared whether you were male or female then. I don't know. I found it very upsetting. As they say, the studies, it's been upsetting to me since I listened one night to you gentlemen speaking, and when I heard pickleball, I don't know. It's upsetting to me, I just have to say that. And I do appreciate, I spoke to Mr. David on the phone, and he was very kind. And I liked hearing some of the things that you said, and that it was the nuisance, because then I say to myself, is this just me? You know, I don't know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed what you had to say, all of you. It was interesting. And I'm glad that some of you had the same feelings that I did, because you feel like you're all alone sometimes.
Thank you. Anyone else who has not spoken like to speak? Okay, and you had a question or a comment? Would you come back up and introduce yourself again, please? Thank you.
Kathy Ferrara, 24 Pickering Lane. I used to live on Oakdale Street, which was right across from the Berlin Turnpike overpass. So when we first bought our house, I didn't realize at night, during the summer, the sound of motorcycles racing up and down was crazy. But I learned to live with it. And we bought our other house afterwards. I was like, oh my God, I can't get used to the quiet, because I adjusted. And I understand what all these people are saying about the noise and everything, but honestly, when we park our car over at Elm Ridge Park, I can't hear anything in the parking lot of the pickleball noise. And one of the gentlemen was mentioning Goodwin Park. I grew up in Hartford. We did everything in Goodwin Park. My husband golfs there, but why should we have to go to Hartford to play? And somebody else mentioned, why haven't we had more people in support? Because so many people like this other woman here and the rest of us have gone to Glastonbury or East Hartford or New Britain, Rocky Hill, Hamden, all these other places to play because we have nothing. You have the money to do it. So just build it. I mean, it's a park. It's noisy. I don't know what else to say. I just think it needs to be done, and stop delaying and doing more studies.
Thank you.
And the other thing is, where are you going to put it if it's not in Mill Woods? I mean, you're going to put it in somebody's neighborhood? Really, that's the only spot to put it.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else who has not spoken? Or, sir, I'll let you make another comment if you are addressing something new. Well, just, you don't have to go back to what you've already said, but give you a chance, whatever extra you'd like to
Say
say.
it differently. Anybody know French or something? I don't know very well. Jim Pettit, 88 Griswold Road. Actually, maybe there's room for a compromise, whatever. As I said, that there's a facility in Berlin about to be built, Pickleball Heaven or whatever it's called. I honestly don't remember. I saw it this morning. It's a huge facility. Again, just as we're doing chits for playing at Goodwin Park golf, perhaps something can be done with cooperation with that facility. It's done by the market. Let the market decide whether it's there or not. And there is a difference between tennis and pickleball and softball and a softball, that sort of thing, whatever. Keep coming back to quality of life and compromise. People that play pickleball drive. Well, what's another 3 miles down or 2 miles down to another facility in town? I have to play and drive to go play golf. What's the difference? Just another couple miles. And there is a quality of life. A park is for the most part, quiet. And yes, there's the ball fields, the joyous noise of the kids hollering of a home run or a hit or the parents, and it goes away. Pickleball doesn't go away. And I am concerned of the hours being played and the time and the effort going through and the noise factor, the constant noise. It's the paddle against the plastic ball is not pleasant. It's not a pleasant noise. Kids screaming that they got a hit, that's a pleasant noise. That's a happy joy. That's joy. Pickleball and the paddle and ball is not joyful. So as others have said, just do it. Well, I'm going to say don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think we've heard from everyone who would like to speak, so back to us, and I don't know, Dave, if you or Park and Rec representative have anything.
Did
Yes,
Can I
Peter.
just bring up a point? I think it's been mentioned a couple times, and it was mentioned at the last meeting when I saw the video, about why use the money to build this pickleball court when you could use it to make improvements in the park, like sidewalks, other safety things. I do recall, I think it was Park and Rec that said that they have money appropriated for those activities as well. Is that true? Is this displacing things that need to be done in the park, or it's in addition to things that are already scheduled to be done in the park? I want clarification on that.
So as part of that, and if needed, Rachel Mattioli, who's here, the Director of Public Works, please feel free to come up and correct me, but my understanding, and this is information I learned from the last meeting, that at the same time the Town Council was discussing this project, there have been projects and federal funding and state funding that we're trying to figure out how to reutilize and obligate in time to be able to spend them. And there is dedicated funding for sidewalks all the way from Prospect Street into the park, including pedestrian improvements into the park, which is a project that is, there's a concept for right now, and that is sort of trailing behind this project. So yes, there is dedicated funding also for those sidewalks, or pedestrian improvements, I'll say, because it's just a concept. I don't know what other projects are, but I do know that this project received dedicated funding, and so did that sidewalk design.
When you say dedicated funding, do you mean state or federal grants as opposed to the town?
Correct,
having to
yes,
budget
yeah.
for it? And is
That's
that,
my understanding, yeah.
And it's fully funded in terms of those safety improvements?
I wouldn't want to say, I don't know enough to say fully funded. My understanding is that they're both funded. This is funded through design and construction, and the sidewalks, I believe, are funded through design. But if you would like to, yeah.
Happy to clarify. Rachel Battioli, Director of Weathersfield Parks and Recreation. So as Dave just alluded to, the town of Weathersfield was a recipient of the DECD Urban Act grant. Part of that Urban Act grant was funding for the library. Engineering did receive some funding, and then there was money that was allocated specifically for Millwoods Park. On that project list of the DECD Urban Act grant, which is approximately a little less than $1.5 million, was allocated specifically for Millwoods Park improvements. Things that have already happened on that have been the tennis courts and the basketball courts, replacing of the filter tanks at the Millwoods Pond. We are ongoing right now, that has been mentioned, is redoing of the Little League Classic field. So that was one of the projects that was part of that list. Redoing the bocce courts. Things that we have not gotten to yet are the Northeast Footbridge Trail, concession renovation. Also part of that is what Dave was just talking about, is that $150,000 of DECD Urban Act grant money has been allocated for signage, road improvements, traffic calming, walking/bike path, and parking. That list of DECD Urban Act projects were approved by Town Council at the March 6, 2023 meeting. So as part of the $1.5 million for DECD Urban Act for Millwoods, their project list was put together, approved by Town Council, and it does include $150,000 for looking at the park entrance and traffic calming coming into the park, which could include sidewalk continuance.
When is that work scheduled to be done?
that is not scheduled at this time. That would probably be the next project that would go along. So we've done the basketball, the tennis courts, the filter tanks, the bocce courts, doing classic right now, looking to do pickleball courts, and then the next project that we would move on to would be to the road improvements.
How much is appropriated for the courts?
Appropriated for the courts is $300,000, and that includes design and construction.
Is there like a deadline on this money? Does it expire? Does the funding expire at all?
The funding is supposed to be appropriated by the end of 2026, but we are working on submitting an application for an extension for another year.
So, thank you. And then when it comes to if for example, we were to say a sound study was required, do you know approximately, one, is that included in what was already appropriated in budget, or would that be additional cost to the town? And two, would that extend the time it would take? How much time do you think at extra ballpark that would take for?
So the $300,000 that is appropriated does not include the sound study. That would be something that we would have to look at if we have to adjust the budget for $300,000 using DECD Urban Act grant. There's a process in place. We had it, and that just goes back to town council asking them to reallocate some of those to move the project money along, for lack of better terms to say. Take $10,000 from this project to move it to the pickleball courts for that. I'm not saying the sound study is $10,000, just picking an arbitrary number to understand the process that moves along with that. I don't have a definitive answer in regards to doing the sound study, how that would delay the project that would go along.
Would it be something though that it would hypothetically have to potentially go out to bid, or that would then be a separate process there? There's an RFP, there's additional steps.
If it's over the procurement, if it's over the town procurement, yes, it would have to go out to bid, but I don't believe it. Dave, you're looking at me that we've gotten some quotes.
We would probably need three quotes.
Written quotes.
Based on the estimates that I've received, we would need 3 quotes, and although it is not included in the study, I have received positive commitment that if a sound study is necessary by this commission in order to make their decision, or as a condition of the approval to understand what would need to be implemented in terms of a noise barrier, that the town would make that money available for the sound study.
That would be town money.
It would be, well, we did not talk about funding source, but it was clear that it is not currently included in the money appropriated for the pickleball, and therefore the money is going to need to come from somewhere, which is most likely going to be town.
Okay. Just one other question. The $300,000 appropriated for this work, could you use that somewhere else to build courts?
This money is only for Millwoods. So DECD Urban Act grant is to only be used within Millwoods.
Okay.
So if the pickleball court money is only good, the money allocated for pickleball courts is only good for pickleball court construction in Millwoods Park.
Okay. So it wouldn't be possible to place it at Putnam Park?
Not using the
Not
grant
this
funding.
money anyways,
Correct,
right?
not using the grant funding that's available.
Is there a way you can return to, out of curiosity, to DECD and say we want to change the location of a particular project that you've already approved, and it's going to be the same thing, just in a different location? Do you know if that's an available request that can be made, out of curiosity?
I do not have that answer off the top of my head. I'd have to find that out. But as I understand, this money is available for Millwoods and Millwoods Park only.
But Dave, would you have to go back to the town council, because this all came from the town council? I was there the night that they approved
I wasn't, I don't know, I wouldn't want to misspeak. I'm not sure what the decisions were in terms of location. I do know, and we didn't talk about this at the first hearing because I wasn't aware of this, this is already the 3rd location to be considered, and maybe just for, there was a first location that was closer to the road, Prospect Street. There were a number, I'm not sure if they are age-restricted apartments, but it was closer to residential properties. We reconsidered. The town looked at the property that was most recently put forward to the Shade Committee, which actually was near the existing tennis courts, which was actually closer to a regulated area, and there were some trees that were going to be removed. And this in that location was closer to residential property. So this location did seem to satisfy the alternatives that had been presented as the best location of those considered. And in terms of reallocating and reappropriating the money, I have no idea what that process would look like.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, if I may second one thing, I think one of the things that was just referenced when you talk about town council approved, so that DECD Urban Act grant money, town council approved the project list, but also town council also approved October 7th of 2024 is when they approved the tennis courts to go at, pickleball courts to go at Millwoods.
And can I just ask the earlier location that was closer to the elderly housing complex, which I guess is the old Mitchell School, approximately how far were the courts under that plan going to be from the elderly housing, do you know?
I do not know. That was the previous director at the time, but I can find that information out and get that back.
No, I don't know the distance. I wouldn't want to put out a number that I don't know, but I know that it was much closer to the property line.
Than 355 feet?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have a question. If, for argument's sake, and this is simply for purposes of hypothesizing a schedule, if one assumes that the commission approves the application and approves the special permit at tonight's meeting, what is the schedule for this project to be completed and the courts put into operation? What's the timeline on that?
The plan is that if it does get approved, that we would go forward and put the bid out for construction, so work with the company to put together design construction documents, put that out to bid over the winter months with construction beginning in the spring.
So, and how long would the construction period take?
It can take up anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on the timeline.
So, at the optimistic perspective, you're really not looking at this to come into reality if everything goes per your planned schedule. It would not open until sometime in early 2027?
No, 2026. So if we bid,
2026?
right, we go to bid, we select a vendor over the winter. Construction is, obviously, we're in New England. We all know we are at the whim of Mother Nature. And so if the ground starts thawing in March, you can start beginning the construction project in that time. Sometimes you have to wait to April, and that's based upon just when we're redoing tennis and basketball courts. I can tell you need to be at a certain temperature.
So if you assume construction starts in April of 2026, and you indicated it's a 6-month construction period?
Could be up to. So I'm saying 3 to 6 months. So you could begin construction, courts could be completed by July, or it could take possibly to September.
Okay. All right, so sometime July to September of 2026?
Correct.
Okay. That's important if if, for example, the commission winds up approving the application but attaches some conditions, one of which may be a term limit for the permit, say before we would re-examine the issue, perhaps, and I'm just hypothesizing here, but if there was a condition for approval for, say, 2 years, then roughly 6 months after the project would be completed, you'd be back before the commission for renewal of the permit?
Rachel, I can take that. That would be a condition if the commission chose to put
Right.
that condition on. I don't, that would be a condition you could
I'm
put
just
that.
trying
It
to-
would,
trying to-
similar to other conditions, I would suggest if the commission is considering an update or status update in terms of noises, complaints received, 2 years from the date, I would suggest we do what we've done historically, which is 2 years from the date or commencement of operations, that there be a report back to the commission with findings of any complaints. I think, that's what you were
That
suggesting?
helps me out.
So I think we really have to focus and decide. We have several options this evening. One of them is you close the hearing and you vote one way or the other if you feel you can vote. Another is we continue the hearing for any further information that we might want to get, which could include a noise study. I think if we were to close the hearing and act on it, my view would be, I think this is the bottom line is, to me, to approve a special permit, we would have to comfortably find that it meets all of the requirements of the special permit regulations, which includes no adverse impacts on the neighbors. And I think sitting here tonight, there's been a lot of discussion about noise and what we do and don't have. And I question whether on the record that we have before us, it would support an approval or not. But tied to that, I guess, is it gets a little bit more complicated. We've had some discussion about, what would the noise report produce for us? Is it going to be simply speaking to the decibel levels of the noise ordinance, or is it going to be able to give some opinion to a reasonable certainty on the nuisance issue, as Peter has described it, that you could be in full compliance with 50 decibels and still have an issue? But I guess what strikes me from all this literature, I don't think there's one size fits all. Whether it's 100 or 500 feet or 750 or 800, it seems like it really comes down to the individual circumstances of the property, the facility, even which direction it's going to be turned in reading some of these things. And sitting here right now, as part of an approval, I guess I will also question, in addition to perhaps technical information, would you want a full design to have comfort that if this is approved, here's the mitigation that they're proposing, and a professional acoustic engineer is saying, with this mitigation, with this design, it's not going to bother anybody in the neighborhood. But I guess I think it's leaving until later dealing with a noise study or dealing with mitigation, to me, I don't find that a situation where I would be comfortable approving a special permit. But by the same token, I'm conscious, it's the town, and I don't want to see the town get into a untenable situation where they do something without all the information that might be needed and end up facing, mounting costs in a situation that they maybe can or cannot fix, down the road. But the last thing I guess I'll say is I would love some type of, to hear from other people, because if your conclusion is go spend $7,000 on a noise study and I'm still not going to be comfortable, then we shouldn't be spending the money. Yes, Dave.
There's a possibility, I got to think just a little bit more, but we don't necessarily have to ask to do a study. We could just say, we approve this, but you can't operate it till you show you have 350 feet, 20 decibels. If you're above 350 feet, 20 decibels, you can't run it. The town does whatever they want to do to mitigate it ahead of time. They need a study, they do a study, do whatever they want. But at 350 feet, you can't be over 20 decibels.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, Dave, and
again, I'm not necessarily that's the best way, but I'm just saying that's another way around. We're not telling you to do a study, just you got to mitigate in your plans.
But then I think it also comes down to individual commission members, and can you comfortably say, I'm approving this thing, they're going to go spend $250,000 to build it, and now if there's a problem, it's all out of our hands at that point. And I guess I'm saying, should it be out of our hands, or should we be satisfied before acting that we know it will work, basically? And I guess that's my view. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I really think that we need a design that, at least I'm comfortable, I'll speak for myself, I'm comfortable in believing that it will mitigate the volume and the nuisance. And I think there's ways to do that. Now, I don't know how much it's going to cost. I don't know if the town is prepared to do that. It's outside the $300,000 that they have. So maybe it's not at all possible. If that's not possible to do, then I'm opposed to this, because I believe that the nuisance could be a factor that needs to be controlled. If we want to take the step of saying, we approve this, provided that we do a sound engineering study with a design that mitigates, I don't know if it's 20 decibels, whatever the engineer says it's got to be. We need a 10-foot wall on all four sides. Then I'd be more comfortable being positive on this proposal.
And I guess I'll just add, to me, I think we ought to hear that before we vote to approve something, not leave it until after the fact.
I agree.
We've had tons of problems with noise and other issues, restaurants, outdoor dining, different situations. And I think if this were not the town as the applicant and it were some kind of commercial business that was doing whatever, batting cages and outdoor go-karts and all that stuff, we'd be saying we want to see all the details, right? We're not leaving it to later, but go ahead, whoever you're, Tom.
Yeah, I feel the focus upon, having or conducting a sound study, at this point, given this, the state of knowledge with regards to this particular activity, we're still at a very primitive stage. You're not talking about, for this particular application, it's not the decibel noise that is at issue. It is the incident noise. It is the particular type of noise that is generated as a consequence of this particular activity. Now, from my review of the materials that are presented and the testimony received, much of it has been largely anecdotal information. There's only one or two real crucial scientific studies that we've got to work on. But there is a plethora of information that's available in terms of how one can regulate and modulate the impact of this kind of activity. And I think there has to be a broad mixture of regulated activities that take place that would allow this to be developed, constructed, and put into play, and yet still take into consideration the legitimate interests and concerns of those who have spoken largely in opposition to this activity. One being, of course, the distance. That's a real crucial issue, and we have quite a lot of data that's been presented to us in terms of the distance factors that are recommended for this. There's also the sound attenuation measures that could be put into place in the architecture of the courts. There's also mitigation efforts in terms of controlling the hours of operation of this. I think all of these would have to be brought into play as part of conditions that the commission should attach to the operation, which is far better than an outright prohibition of this activity at this site. This has been presented. This is the third location for this to have been put into place, and since the commission is charged to act in the role of Solomon here, we have to decipher and try to satisfy the interests of all the parties that are at stake here. And I think we do have enough to act upon, but I would also think that we would need to put a time limit for at least our initial approval to see how this actually does work out, because that's going to be, I think, a better telling for how this is going to work than commissioning a study that I think at this point in time, due to the primitiveness of our technical scientific data on this, would be money down the drain.
I think we need to keep, so I'm just going to say, Tom, what I think in most situations we have experts, a traffic expert saying the road safety will be okay from this project, don't worry about it. They're going to be rooftop HVAC equipment at a commercial building. There's a sound guy saying we won't be causing undue impact. So I'm just not comfortable saying stamped, sealed, approved, and you figure it out later. I really think we need to be proven to us before an affirmative vote, which I'm not prepared to make based on the record that we have now. And I think, Peter, you said you're not.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Tom, with one exception. The 3 locations they picked, there was no expert advice. It's just a bunch of people sitting there saying it's too close to the school, it's too close to trees where they play tennis. So, hey, here's a spot that seems to be away from those, so let's place it here. That's not expert opinion. A sound study is not just to do a study so that we're comfortable, it's to tell them this is where you should be locating this court. It could be moved. It's a big area. It's 94 acres. Right here, there's a berm. Maybe you want to move it 100 feet this way, and it will reduce another 20 decibels. That's what a sound study will do. And it will be expensive, unfortunately. But I think we need to have that expert advice in the siting and location at this site and the mitigating design around it. How tall is the wall? Is it 10 feet? Is it 12 feet? How thick is the blanket? None of that is known right now. So I could not vote in my conscience without knowing that someone with some expert advice has truly put their stamp on it and says, if you guys do this and follow these guidelines, I'm pretty sure that the neighbors will not have impact. And that would make me comfortable.
The other.
It's an acoustical problem, and we're approving the site. Yet when they design it, they can use acoustical blankets, acoustical fence, and we don't even have the design for it. Could we put a stipulation in that it's looked into? Because I know when we did the high school, those houses were getting hit with 85 decibels, which is urban noise. We said put up screens. Screens are designed to cut the noise, and I remember tennis courts, I believe at the high school at one time had sound blankets to one side to cut the noise going to the residential that was like probably 50 feet away, 100 feet away.
I won't be able to answer that.
So I'm just saying, we can put a stipulation that an acoustical study, and it could be an ad alternate, so that it could be put in after the fact if there's a sound problem.
I would just like to add too, and as we're talking about expertise and reliance on this, is that one, I can absolutely appreciate the nuisance argument and the position that there does seem to be a lot of anecdotal evidence that that's the case. But even the one actual scientific study that is cited, because there was only one, and it says in the title of the study that it's a qualitative study. Exactly. So there's still, even to one of the things that we have to cite as potentially expert evidence to make a case here, it's still just stories that people are. So there isn't going to be, if this is the case, this is one of the hottest, most emerging things out there. I don't know how much more evidence we're going to get about whether or not the nuisance part is real, because we have 20 towns, none of which actually reporting that it's a problem. We have that are in over a year ago. So the town council approved this over a year ago. So I'm perfectly comfortable with the study. I think that should be done. But to the level and to the degree to which we have the acoustical study and recommendations for pickleball courts it is from British Columbia, so it's not here. But I often think of Canada as having higher standards for public health than we do. So that study gives you a framework that we can use to say this is the sound mitigation we should put on the courts. It recommends distances, it recommends volumes. It actually says in it that 55 is the expected standard for building pickleball courts, 55 decibels. So it gives us an entire framework that is an expert. It's actually one of the only pieces of expert information that we have in this, along with, maybe not a technical area of expertise, but the folks that run parks and recs in our towns are professionals, and they're well-trained, and they pay attention to the needs of their communities and put a lot of work into these kinds of things. And I think having a 20-town sample without a single nuisance issue or any litigation, I think is pretty good framework for knowing that our surrounding towns are already doing this without issue. And so I guess for me, without having any actual scientific evidence that there is a risk here or a problem, other than the anecdotal piece, it's hard for me to delay a thing that has an expiration date that's already been appropriated and that is in demand in a lot of places. I think we can put guardrails around this to make sure that the sound pieces are mitigated to a level that is generally acceptable in the industry, and that we can do that and make sure that it's there. But I don't know how much of actually delaying this will change or give us any actual new information. And if it's a multi-site sound study for a thing that doesn't exist, they have to build barriers to test. Like, how do they even do that? You know what I mean? It's going to take a long time.
Dave, I think an experienced acoustical engineer, I mean, they can model any kind of noise.
It won't take
They
long.
do it every day.
They go out there with pings and
Right,
they'll ping
right.
and they'll
It's not an
measure
issue.
at each.
Go back to what I said before, and I'm not saying it's the answer, but you could say, part of the thing, we want a sound mitigation wall.
Yeah.
350 feet, 20 decibels. Do whatever you want to do. And all due respect to this study, we're at, what are we at, 100 yards? Let's see, 500 yards, this guy's 40, I'll give him that, but they had a complaint. 150 yards, 100 yards, 200 yards, 500 yards, not close at all, we're lucky, not sure. 100 yards, 300 yards, 700 yards, quarter mile. So that most of these are pretty far out.
Pretty far out.
So we're-
Yeah, that's why
So,
there's no
but
problem.
I'm not against this at all, but you don't make this harder than it is. You can say, we have a spot. If we approve it, whatever, say, you gotta have a mitigation wall designed to do 20 decibels at 350, or 10, or whatever we pick at, and then leave it.
And that will require a study. You can't do that without a study.
yeah.
So it's a circular argument we're having here.
Well, my point is that I'm comfortable personally. If it was up to me, I'm comfortable requiring study, setting some kind of a guardrail. I'm not comfortable kicking the can further down the road. And right now, we're looking at whether or not to close the public hearing, basically. So I think that we should establish the framework and allow this project to move forward with the guardrails that we're putting in place.
I appreciate your comments, but I don't think that would be kicking the can down the road. I think it would be making sure we have all the technical support that we feel comfortable making a decision based on, rather than being out of our hands.
I know that one of the people out there mentioned about these articles. If you get in and look up pickleball noise, and I'm not saying it's 80% or whatever it is, but there were article after article of towns that had to close the courts.
Right, I saw that.
Because of noise. Just close them till they dealt with it. And we don't want to do that. That'd be stupid. So the noise has to be dealt with.
So, Rich, I just want to, do people feel, the hearing should be closed or not closed? Do you have noise concerns that you think could be addressed if it were kept open, if more technical information were obtained? Rich, do you have?
Yeah, I mean, without knowing how long it would take to get information that would make people comfortable, I don't know if we have that kind of time to continue the hearing or not.
You mean based on our statutory timeframes for completing a hearing?
How much time is that, Rich, do you know?
We have 65 days from when
We're
we
already at
first
the end on
opened
the
it.
hearing.
It was September 3rd it was opened, but then the town can extend that period as well. So theoretically, let me see, 12, theoretically, that would get us a couple of
December.
months more. Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole, right. If you could get a study quickly, I guess, right?
The preliminary responses that I received in the study could be done after procurement is a month. But I don't know what the procurement would be. It would be based on the estimated cost, but it would be likely under $10,000, depending on the complexity of the study.
Would that include design or recommendation of specific mitigation based on the location of the property itself?
I don't know. I didn't.
It would have to.
I didn't pursue.
Otherwise, it
Well,
will.
I will say, just the commitment that I've already received is that the town will commit to both installing and constructing noise barriers to ensure that we're within the necessary decibel levels. And so I will just offer this too. There's no doubt in my mind from what I've read from all of the testimony that's been submitted in the little bits of conversations I've had with acoustic engineers, we will be, this court, just on its distance alone, will result in a decibel level far within the municipal requirements. The issue, we will still be at the conclusion of a sound study, even that there will be a noise, 20 decibels. We will still find ourselves where there will be some noise from this, well within our decibel limits, and the commission will be faced with a decision of, is this noise, which will be able to be within the existing ambient background noise of the park, kids swimming, playing ball, skateboard, trucks hitting rail slides. There is absolutely an acoustic engineering way to keep this noise and the noise level below the existing ambient background noise, but there very well will likely be, during the hours of operation when people are playing the game, a noise associated with the gameplay. That will not be eliminated from what I've heard. There will be a noise based on where you live, where you are in the park. There will be a noise. And the question will be, in my opinion, the commission's going to find itself in the same situation, whether we have a sound study. The town has already committed to doing the sound study if necessary. They have committed to doing the noise mitigation barriers to achieve an acceptable level of noise. So the commission, in my opinion, will still be faced with, is this additional recreation amenity, including the minimal additional noise, something that the town should approve to be installed at this location in this park?
I'll just say this, that what Dave suggested at 20 decibels, I would have no issue with nuisance. That's really low.
That's low.
So if we want to vote on that, I would vote for that, because that would require unbelievable sound barriers.
Probably would not be.
It may not even be feasible.
Well, I didn't say.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you want to go with 25, I mean.
So actually, in this study, the only quantitative study, the one from British Columbia, the BAC Acoustics, based on the conditions of where this location is, including the distance, the fact that we have soft surface between the source and the receptors, with the sound barriers, it would, they say, within 165 feet, it would be around 25 decibels.
It sounds to me like we're kind of, I'm thinking of the other places where we've had sound studies. I forgot we just had one not long ago, Church Street. And we weren't wrapped around the axle on this. It sounds to me like the challenge here is it's not the qualitative cut point, 45 decibels, 20 decibels, whatever. It's that this is, I'm not an acoustic engineer, special noise.
It's the incident noise,
pitch,
not the
it's the
decibel.
number of times, it's the repetitiveness. I mean, it could be a low noise, but if I worked from home, it would meet all the safety or all of the decibels, but if all day long hearing clunk, 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 I don't know, I could drive the lifeguards insane at the pool, who knows? But I think that's what the real challenge is this qualitative element of it that I'm not sure you can mitigate away.
No, but if I could, and I don't want to belabor the point, but I would like to share because a lot of the testimony and a lot of the things we've heard from the original public hearing, and again repeated tonight, is based on one study that, Chris, I think you were referencing, and I would like to kind of share that with the commission so we can see, because while that noise is repetitive, from what you can see, it really is the noise. So even, a steady, constant tapping at 45 decibels and 55 is a lot different than 15 and 20 decibels. And if I could, I'd like to show you the basis for a lot of the testimony on what is so annoying. It would just take a minute to show the screen. Can I do that? Sure. So Derek, if you're back there, if you could just help me sort of quickly, because I do think it's important, because it's a park, and in any location, anything with noise is going to generate some noise. But I wasn't sure if we would get there, but I think it's relevant.
When I looked at the apartments, the village apartments over there, and then I moved to the service.
Mitigation study to be. You know what analogy I was thinking of? The rate of set at the same level as what is my 20s Justin Bieber. It's easy. Gotta be part of the approval.
No,
It's not.
I just need to make sure my.
Dave Craig
You couldn't live in your house all day with people
Dave
talking.
Craig used to say we're overthinking.
I realize I don't have a network plug anyway over here, Derek. So we
Dave Craig
tried.
always said we're overthinking. It's part of the criteria. It's gotta be part
No,
of the
that's
study.
it.
Remember that for next
Prove it was the criteria, that's it. Let the town do what they gotta do.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
You ever play pickleball?
So,
You played?
and we,
I played it.
you know, I wasn't sure if we would talk about this, and the packet was very large. It was 100 and, I think it was 114 pages, right? So, you know, the study that is the source of the majority of the news articles and the media press that has been referred to in the prior public hearing and again today. And if you do a quick internet search, it's also the most heavily cited study, and it's the one that was prepared by the Acoustical Society of America. And this is the condition that you see that is referred to as the condition that they use as their reference of where it is the frequency and the noise level and the annoyance of the nuisance, right? This is the condition, and I think it's important that we see this, right? This is the condition that we are considering, right? This is the condition of the location, right? Significantly further, a much different location, and we are including noise barriers, right? And so I also want to say that the studies, right, and I looked, and I think I'm pretty impartial. I consumed everything that was given to me. You know, when I saw something, and I just want to make sure that as a commission, you know, we're making real decisions based on the impacts for both the people that live there as well as the community as a whole, and the, you know, the need to provide services to everyone in the community, right? I looked at their source of information because I was dying to see, like, where are these places where there's physiological, chronic cardiac issues with pickleball, right, from the noise. And so the study, the largest, the most referred to study that was given in all of the testimony, and it was, honestly, there were abstracts, it was all back to the same study, which again, as someone who used to do a lot of research, you know, it says, given the absence of published reports on the impact of chronic impulse noise exposure in residential settings, content analysis was chosen as an appropriate methodology for this early stage research. A content analysis, often used in public health to identify early trends, uses only information available in unsolicited comments, public interviews, news reports, social media posts as its data source. It does not rely on interviews, surveys, or other interpersonal interactions. This physician-led conceptual content analysis used publicly available comments about pickleball from noise from Facebook, Reddit, news reports, legal findings, and public websites. So I want us to remember that while we always want to collect as much information as available from the public, from all the sources, that's why after hearing everything, I do think that we have the ability with engineering and financially we can do a study. We're going to be able to be well within the noise, but there is still going to be, we should expect there to be some noise associated with a new recreation facility. And the question is that noise going to be within a range that we're okay with at this location in Millwoods?
And could somebody who's an expert quantify the nuisance noise for us, not just the decibel noise?
As we heard, the issue of nuisance with the dogs was rectified simply by sealing up the slats, and the noise went away.
Right,
The yelp of the dogs just disappeared.
I bring that up, though, if I could, just because I think the town's position now is that they've spent a lot of time and effort and money in looking at this, and I think I also it would be great to have a noise study with this. I think that they're looking for some understanding that if the noise study shows that we can keep this to a reasonable level expected in this park, you know, does the commission think it could approve this? If not,
I think part of it is that it's our charge to determine what is a reasonable level when it's in our hands, and we're sitting here without, forget study, we don't have a design in front of us, good intentions on mitigation and stuff, but we don't have the first piece of information about what that's going to be. How's it going to be designed?
Can't that be incorporated within the RFP as the design process continues with an approval subject to the language, like we're going to,
I'm sure
going to propose 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.?
I'm sure they could, Tony, but again, it just comes back to what do we feel we need to approve
9 to 6
an application? So, but I think we ought to go through, and, you know, frankly, we don't do this often, but maybe we ought to go around the table and get a consensus, because if 5 people are saying they don't care what you show them, they're not comfortable with it, then that answers the question, right? And if there's a split, but, you know, people say, show me more and I might get comfortable, so can we have a little bit of sort of blunt
Could we ask the town to come back? I'm not convinced we're running out of time. Can we ask the town to go get an acoustical engineer have them come in, I obviously gotta pay them, and tell us what would be a reasonable spec to put on this. 20 dB, 40 dB, explain to us, maybe pay the guy for a day, whatever, then, his responsibility to, so we have a number to put, we don't know what that number is. My personal opinion, I'd be happy with 20 dB, 350 feet. I'd vote for that right now, I'd be done with it.
I would too.
Okay, so I'm just, I'm trying to be not reasonable, I'm reasonable, but you guys are exactly right, we don't know what that is.
Why not 22, 24, 26?
I have no idea. That's what I say. Have a guy come in, pay him, $1,000 for a day, do his thing, and come in, present to us. This is what we think is a reasonable dB and what it means, and we can add it to the thing and move forward with that.
And
right now, we have nothing.
And
45 dB it is way too high. Right now, it's way too high.
And I'm pretty sure there have been other zoning applications in Connecticut. I think when I was looking on the internet, there was one that might be ongoing now in Westport, and the Planning and Zoning Commission was looking for more data to see, if it could. So there's got to be consultants out there who've probably done this for a zoning
There's one in
application.
New Canaan also, I think. I
Yes.
saw that one.
Yeah.
Am I correct in kind of concluding that the sort of study that, that members are focusing on is, is more of a specification study, a study that indicates the parameters, the design parameters for the courts with regards to sound effect, sound attenuation, distance, and so forth, that all that would be brought into the study as part of the specifications that would be looking to approve as part of the application, and that, in effect, what we now have before us, part of our difficulty is that we do not have really conclusive specifications to make a judgment about. Is that reasonable?
That's my feeling, yes.
So I'm going to go back. Based on, do we even need to vote on anything? Can we ask them to go back to town and get a guy and?
It's up to Dave to do it.
Yeah, we don't need to vote on anything.
Hey,
Do as fast as we
Can
can.
we just ask sound engineer to come in and give us his opinion on specifications that we need to conclude that this thing can be designed to a certain parameter that doesn't affect the neighborhood?
Right, which is beyond just what the noise ordinance says, but what's going to be impactful or not to neighbors.
During the
You
course
throw
of the
that
public
spec-
hearing, so
Yes.
as additional information, continue the public hearing, engage a
Have someone-
acoustic
Yeah, I
engineer
think our
to,
chairman's really looking for, some expert guidance on this.
I mean, are people, let's go around, is everybody, Dave, we've heard from you, is everybody supportive of trying to get some more technical support?
We ask Rachel what her thoughts are on the timelines, the deadlines, and if it encroaches on the RFP process, Rachel?
I will try my best.
I will look
But
into that.
I was just,
That's
I'm trying to process everything that I'm hearing, and so I'm just looking possibly for clarification so that I understand. When we talk about doing a noise study, are you looking at doing a noise study for the selected location that is on the application?
We don't want a noise study. We want a spec. No study, very easy.
A spec on the location, the current location, and not a spec, like, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Can I just we want a spec from someone that says 20 dBs at 350 or 30 or 40 is a reasonable spec, then we vote on it and put that to it, then you go on your way and engineer it for that.
Understood. I'm
We
asking
don't
you,
need a
are you,
noise study.
I'm asking you, are you looking to have that done for the current proposed location of the pickleball courts within Millwoods Park?
Yeah, it really does make a
It
difference.
may require, based on what the spec is, it may require moving of that location. We can't say that will achieve 20 dB at 350. You may have to move it 100 feet or 50 feet. That could possibly happen.
there's two things that I.
But 20 dB may not be the magic number.
No, man.
What you said that you can't do
The standard here is, it says another thing, the standard is 55. Around,
55?
like, within 50 meters. That's what it says as the standard.
Yeah.
That's the normal.
And when you do this, you got to be very specific on what you ask this guy to do, because you guys are going to tear him apart when he comes in here.
That's right.
With all
You
these
need-
questions. I'm just saying, you got to be very specific about, you know, what the noise mediation and all that. They got to know that. You know what I mean?
He's going to have to provide specification that will mitigate the nuisance problem at the property borders. That's what he's got to do.
I understand, so,
But I just, because when you move, so even when you move, so this is the third location, when you do, every time you pick a different location, you have to go back out and redo geo-surveying again. So we just want to understand that if that's why I'm asking, are you asking for the location? Or if it gets moved, we'll have to go back out and do geo-surveying again if the recommendation.
I don't think anybody's asking it to move. It's just that someone has to design a wall based on a spec. We don't have that spec. If we decide it's a good spot, and maybe it's a good spot, someone should be able to come in and say, on a Saturday afternoon, the people in the neighborhood watching TV aren't going to have to hear, and what is that dB? They don't have to hear it all day. I don't know what that is. I think 20 is a good number, but it could be 30. 55, to tell you, that's a ridiculously high number. That's someone talking in your house all day long.
I think she's saying, though, that...
But I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is.
I do, but I understand what you're at. It's a two-part question. First, they want to ask an acoustic engineer, professional, say, what is a reasonable decibel level for this area based on this location that is currently proposed? So, well, actually, no. What is a reasonable level of noise surrounding a residential area in a park setting similar to Millwoods, right?
Regardless of the location.
Regardless of the location. Then they're asking, at this location, which is the current one, can we achieve that with or without noise mitigation? And if they can't, then it would bring up the question about another alternative location, which I think we should just... that is not the scope of this application. Right now, it is this location we're considering, so that's the way I understand what they are currently asking for.
And I guess, and in terms of what's a reasonable level, to what Dave has said, we're asking an expert to tell us, if you were living in a house 350 feet away, what is acceptable to you? And can you design this facility in this location to meet that? What's the impact?
Again, we're not asking for the design, just can we do it?
Right. Can it be done?
And that's it. Then we throw it back to you as part of the approval.
So just as a point of clarification, because I think one of the things you're saying is like, we have the specific application for this location. So if we were to say that it can't be done at this location, we're saying we would then be like, it has to be a new application if it's a different spot.
Right.
Even if it's like a few feet.
Depends.
How, because you said you have to be a new geo survey, what's like the range on when you'd have to redo that piece of it? Like if we say it has to move 10 feet in one direction, it still has to be a new.
We have to go back out to the contractor, we'd have to amend purchase, you'd have to start the process all over again. So I said, that's why I was trying to ask. I cannot give an exact time frame. If you pick a different location, you have to go back out and begin the geo-surveying. I will tell you, that's gonna be an additional cost, and we're not talking an additional $1,000 or $2 when you go back out and do geo-surveying again, which will then just add further timeline onto the project. So that's why I was just asking for clarification of, as we're looking at moving forward, we're looking at the current proposed location and gathering information for that current proposed location, and then mitigation strategies to address that location. We're not looking to therefore move the pickleball.
I think what we're saying is, can it be designed to work in that location without causing nuisance to the neighbors? If the answer is from an expert, no, it can't, then I don't know what you do at that point, but then that would lead us to a conclusion that we shouldn't be approving it in that location.
I just want to make sure we're clear on what I think you're saying is sliding the site around by 100 feet is a big deal, meaning that when they do this geo-survey, there could be a rock ledge 100 feet over, and that could be all bets off potentially. Is that
correct? And we'll remind from the initial application process. Do you remember, for those that were here, when we talk about the gas line that goes through the park? So when you talk about moving it, you cannot always move it because there is the gas line. So part of the location is selected because you don't ever want to put a pickleball court or any type of court on top of a gas line. So when the company that was hired to do this location, they were looking at the gas line that does run through the park in addition to the so that's one of the things too to take into account. So sometimes you can't move it 25 feet because then we're on top of the gas line.
So just to put you at ease, I don't think we're suggesting that this has to be moved. that what we're saying is that there's qualitative evidence that most likely you can work in this location and get it down to a level that's acceptable. That's qualitative. What we want is someone to quantify that we can specify what the design has to be. That's what we're asking.
Okay, I said thank you. I just was hearing mixed messages, so just wanted clarification.
What we don't have now before us is the noise criteria for your current plan. You have no noise criteria you can present to us that you're going to achieve with the current plan.
Correct. There's
Therefore,
currently no pickleball
we're
court.
finding it of great difficulty to provide an objective analysis and a reasonable approval or disapproval of the plans that currently exist, because they're incomplete, because the kinds of issues that we are having to decide upon, we have no criteria upon which to judge. Does that make sense to you?
I completely 100% understand what you were telling me right now.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I think Rachel and Dave have their work cut out for them, and I think we're at a point now where we could continue this to another session.
Agreed, and I think in terms of the exact continuation date is going to be subject to what Dave determines when he's reaching out to somebody and when the delivery date would be if he's able to obtain something. So, but what we could do, I suppose, is just continue it. Let's think about that for a minute.
We should.
You want to continue it for 30, and then if necessary, we could move it again. That makes sense. So would somebody, when would that be? Which meeting, just to figure that out?
November 5th?
That changed because of election day?
That's what I'm.
We're probably bounced to the
That's what you
5th.
have for the Citgo signs or the...
Oh, then. Well, I trust that we, that's correct. We can,
Weeks, right?
Will 5th be enough time? Is that a concern?
30 days is, I don't even know where the new calendar is. Do it. Unless someone can beat me to it, you're welcome to.
If it's a Wednesday after the
Yeah,
election.
November 5th, Wednesday,
That's
November
for
5th is
sure.
our next meeting. Well, that's what's on the town calendar.
So is that enough
Yeah,
time?
well,
Or you want to try it, and if it's not, then
Yes,
we'll
yeah,
move it that
I know
night?
that I went 30 days.
Are you going to need an RFP to get someone here to give us some?
Depends on the amount of money. So, that.
I mean, we're just talking someone for one night, right?
Everyone that I've had a conversation with informally, they need to understand the background and ambient noise of the site, which does require some amount of investigation.
All right, so would somebody like to make a motion to continue, to keep the public hearing open, continue it to our meeting of November 5th, and if it ends up that more time is needed, we might just announce on
I'll
November 5th.
make that motion
we're
as said,
continuing.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Very well said.
Garbled, okay.
I'll second.
Noting the location and time of the.
Yep, then the meeting will be back in this room on November 5th at 7 PM.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
second
All right,
it.
second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, continued. Okay, please. I guess you can give us a progress report at our next meeting, right? In terms of.
I definitely will.
Okay, that sounds good. Where is it? Talking about it?
I would like to.
Yeah,
There you go.
because it's
My
a lot
neighbor's
easier.
pool filter all day.
The one that was tough
But it comes on between 6 and 7 in the morning, it goes off between 5 and 6 at night.
Let's talk about
There's all the mice in the house. It's all around the bed.
You never heard of Rich. Okay.
Run fans.
All right. What else do we have?
I think
It was a lot easier for me. Yeah.
Can we just, do you want to talk for a minute about?
Inside.
Okay, where are we? Let's go back to the agenda.
I also got some.
Just renovating.
Placed, here we are. All right, new business, item 3, I don't think
That's all we need.
we have any, do we? Other business, I don't think we have any. What about the minutes of September 16th? Are they ready, or do they need further?
I'm not quite, I apologize, I'm not sure why I don't have those. I know you asked about those earlier, and they're not on the agenda for tonight either.
Okay, want to just pass on the minutes?
Well, are they? There was actually, when we converted them from one format to PDF, every other word was missing. I think we corrected it. Oh, no, yeah, Tony shows it. So, but, I'm sorry, which meeting date have we not done, Joe?
Did we already do the 3rd?
At our last meeting, I know we were short, but I believe enough members said that they had reviewed them to be able to vote for them. We're asking about the September 3rd minutes, is that correct?
Yeah, you voted on them at the last meeting.
Okay. Yeah. All right, and that's the one where you only had 5 people. Okay, so now, are we ready to go on the September 16th? Was that?
Yes, we are.
Motion to approve, motion to approve, September 16th.
Motion to approve by, was it you, Dave?
Yeah.
And the second, anyone on the minutes?
For the 16th, I'll second.
Second by Peter, any comments?
Yeah,
And these are, the formatting has been corrected from what you sent us
And
originally.
they were passed out tonight.
Yes.
Correct. And posted online correctly as well.
Correct.
Okay. All right, any comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed, any abstentions? Minutes
Abstain.
are approved. The abstentions were Paul
Abstain for absence.
and
Dave, you abstained? You were,
Dave. Somebody,
Rich,
Yeah, I wasn't.
Rich, okay.
Rich wasn't here.
All right, correspondence, or actually public comments. Sorry about that, I skipped over. Are there?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think we're missing one of the agenda items to take place.
Which one?
Is that the proposed meeting schedule that's been presented to us? Isn't that's part of tonight's agenda?
I think did it drop off the agenda, Dave? I don't see it on there.
Correct. So I was waiting for some guidance, Commissioner Dean, on that. I had presented a consideration for the commission to consider going to one meeting a month and setting special meetings as necessary. I had sort of posed that as an alternative for a couple of reasons, but in the interim, I have talked to the chair, and I think the preference is to stick with 2 meetings a month and cancel as necessary.
But and I guess just real quick, the reasoning, I guess, from me was calling a special, if you only have one a month and then you have a need to have a second one, I think it's very difficult if people haven't set aside the first and third Tuesday routinely to get them, and you might not get a quorum. And then the second thing is an applicant, if their hearing is continued, they're going to be waiting a month rather than 2 weeks. So as Dave said to me, we can easily cancel 6 of them if we have no business.
Which we've done.
Right. It just seems that every 2 weeks gives us
I concur. I think it's easier to have the meeting set than cancel as needed,
I like that.
rather than vice versa.
Okay, all right. So so do you still have to get that on the agenda for the next meeting for us to vote on? Okay, so we'll do that. I think we had public comment, and happy to, happy to have you comment, but we cannot discuss the public hearing item that was before us this evening, since the hearing has been closed for this evening. So if you want to comment on something not dealing with that application, we can hear it, but not about the application. Non-agenda item.
Peter Gardo, 60 Griswold Road. What I'd like to comment about is the action that you took with a sound study. Is that permissible, Mr. Chairman?
We really shouldn't, we really should hold that until, if it relates to the application, it's not fair that members of the public have left.
Well, that's here's what I'm going to say, Mr. Chairman. Okay, hear me out. Okay, and if I am out of line, you can stop me. Okay, is this whole process has been devoid of all stakeholders, especially the neighbors. Okay, so I would hope that this sound study that's done includes comments from the neighbors and what their expectations are for what is annoying and what's not annoying. You need to get stakeholders involved to say what is annoying and not.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just because the applicant is left and the public hearing. Your comments are valid.
So let me ask you this, Mr.
Yes, sir. David Elder.
David Elder.
Town planner,
Okay.
yes. It's
How do I then engage yourself or this commission to do that? What is the process? Because the process for the last 2.5 years on this from the town has been abysmal. Okay, they should be embarrassed. And I don't care if they drill holes to, Timbuktu. Okay, but
I think you can talk with Mr. Elder after tonight, and I'm not sure. I think
many options.
he's the person for you to talk to.
There's many options. I'm happy to speak with you individually. You can submit written testimony, or you can return and provide the comments that we would like to very much hear at the continuation of
But
the
I think
public hearing.
if you speak to Mr. Elder, I think that would be the place to start. And in addition, I would hope that whatever thing we get from an expert, that we'll be able to have that available to people
It will be
in
presented,
advance of the
yes.
hearing.
It will be presented like we do. We will file it with the town clerks. It will be information as part of the record in the town clerks.
But I think if you
okay,
want to
but the
talk
thing
to
is,
Mr.
how are you going to engage the public as to what is acceptable?
I think whatever suggestions you have along those lines, you can pose to Mr. Elder. He's going to be the one who's dealing with the consultant. We're not directly. So if you have suggestions on any front, whether he can implement them or not, but I think he would be the sounding board for you to go to. And then obviously at the end of the process, you'll have an opportunity to speak at the next hearing.
What's your telephone number?
860-721-2838.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Any other public comment? Seeing none. Correspondence? I don't think we have any. Staff reports? Don't have any, do we? Applications to be heard on October 21st. Are there any currently?
Sorry, this might be the wrong forum for it, but just tell me if it is. If we have a question about action going on something that we've approved in the past for just update or what's going on, is this the right place for that?
Yeah. Yes.
Ken's Foods, Weight Watchers, whatever the name of that applicant is across from the shopping center. Has anything changed there materially? I mean, I recall seeing site plans that were going to look different, and I haven't seen much change.
So as you're probably aware, so there is separately lawsuits related to the original code violations. So those have been proceeding, and there is some information. There was a pretrial meeting. And the reason I mention that is because there is progress being made with the code compliance. They did come in separately, I want to say maybe a month ago now, to talk about the site plan. That is, we have not seen this. The answer is no. We have not received the site plan. But they have been making code compliant. I'm not sure if you're asking about the site plan status.
I guess I'm saying is, are they doing what they said that they were going to do to us?
They have shown progress.
Okay.
And that is also what the court has given them the okay to continue making progress.
Yeah, I mean, that was just, it's just my observation from rolling through the Dunkin' Donuts drive-through. That's about the only observability I have.
Anything beyond the agenda for October 21st?
Well, there's the continuation, I believe, unless I got the continuation of tonight's Did you request to skip a meeting?
We went to November 5th, right?
Oh, then, as of right now, no, we do not. We do not unless we want to talk about the plan of conservation and development.
Yeah, and why don't we talk for a minute just about
Yeah.
where you are and what the next step is from the commission? Would we have a full, distribute the entire document?
The plan is entirely done in draft form right now. The only complication has been, I think, I apologize if I keep saying this, but there's a land use map that was done in 2013, a proposed land use map in 2020. The firm that did the plan in 2013 no longer has any of their mapping files. So myself and the consultant, we recreated the 2013 map and compared it to the 2020 map. And I had a meeting with them last week, and what we noticed, and this is probably more in the weeds, but in 2013, they identified land uses based on the number of houses. So it said this is an area for 2-family and 3-family homes. This is an area for single-family homes. This is an area for 4-family homes. In 2020, the recommended land use map went to this is an area for low-density housing. This is an area for higher density, moderate density, and high density. And so what I need to do right now, which is one of the really only, maybe not only, but it's a decision point for the commission as to how we would like to reflect. And I have some ideas, but do we want to go, because interestingly, we say that 2 families, we have an area for 2 families, but yet nowhere in the zoning regulations do we allow 2 families. So I'm not quite sure why we had that in 2013, but it's a question.
If the question season, if there's no other applications for October 21st, would it be helpful to spend an hour with a short meeting to just discuss the plan of development and next steps?
I would like that.
Okay, so is that okay with everybody? Because I think we need to advance that to a public hearing. Yep. As soon as we can, so that would allow you to then progress. Okay. And at this point, it's already too late for a special permit with a public hearing to come in for the next meeting, correct?
What
past the cutoff, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. So if there's nothing else, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Paul, second.
Second.
By Chris. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?